While we did receive some late day improvements on Friday, this was a tough week for mortgage rates, especially the second half of the week. Recent rate volatility has resulted from the markets basically reevaluating how high they think the Fed might take their short term benchmark rate and then for how long they might hold rates at those elevated levels. This recent reevaluation has followed incoming data that has been surprisingly upbeat with regards not only to the economy but also inflation, not at all what the Fed wants to see. Now, headed into this week, all eyes were on Tuesday's CPI inflation report. Would it show that inflation is continuing to soften? And in doing so, might it suggest that jobs report from back on the 3rd was more of a one-off, maybe more due to seasonal adjustment. Now, while January inflation did come in at forecast, there were upward revisions the previous month, which ultimately spooked the markets. It pushed up bond yields and mortgage rates. Now, over the course of the week, you have uncertainty that was caused by Tuesday's CPI was amplified by a really strong retail sales data. Show consumer demand is still incredibly high, coupled with a producer price index that was at its highest reading in the last 7 months, an unfortunately troubling indicator of persistent inflation. You combine this week's data with several Fed presidents who voiced their opinions that perhaps a larger rate hike might be appropriate at the next meeting, and you have a recipe for a mortgage rate beatdown. So why then would I still be so optimistic about mortgage rates? Take CPI. You have all these Fed presidents. You have a high producer price reading and retail sales, and we still closed the week in the green. Perhaps the markets were saying, hey, you know what? We've sold off enough. Bond yields and mortgage rates have risen high enough. Let's test out this new range while I wait for new incoming data. Sure, inflation may not have fallen as low as the markets might have preferred, but there is still a downward trend from those highs back in June. And as inflation continues to trend lower, it's moving closer to the Fed's 2% target. As inflation comes down, mortgage rates will come down as well. Hey, you any questions about these headlines, about these recent rate trends, or if you're ready to discuss your pre-approval options? Let's talk.